Running is a lot like growing a strong tree, especially for females over 45. You need the right foundation, the right care, and patience to grow tall and strong. But sometimes, even with the best intentions, a few key mistakes can stop you from flourishing. There are 5 habits that could be stunting your progress. I bet you're doing half of them. The thing is, they all live rent-free in my head as a running coach, specifically for female runners over the age of 45. Let's start with the one you might not even think about, those worn-out running shoes sitting by the door. Running in worn-out shoes is like trying to grow roots in dry, rocky soil. There's really just no support. Let's fix this foundation before it leads to injury. Whether you're running in an endurance shoe or a speed racing shoe, all of these shoes have some form of cushioning. Obviously, over time, that cushioning degrades, and that may be the reason why you're landing up with injuries like shin splints or plantar fasciitis, because you no longer have that support you had in your shoe. So we're looking to get between 600 to 750 kilometers on a particular set of shoes. This will depend on your height, on your weight, and how much you are running. Most apps out there today will help you track the distance and the amount of mileage you've done on your shoes and remind you to retire them in time. For the next habit, imagine a tree growing tall but with a flimsy trunk. It looks fine until a storm hits. Just like without strong and balanced muscles, your runs might be heading for disaster. So if you think that strength training doesn't matter, think again. Running is a compounding sport. It's cyclic. It's right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, repeated over and over and over again. That constant compounding starts to wear the joints and the muscles down. And so we have to ensure that our joints and muscles that we are using for running are strong enough to sustain the loads that we are doing while we are running. The body is essentially like a chain. If there is a weakness somewhere along that point, it is going to compensate somewhere else, and you may find that you get injured from there. And as females, we have very different biomechanics to males. Our hips are slightly wider for biological birthing reasons, and if we don't make sure that we are strong enough, what tends to happen is our hips rotates internally, putting a little bit more pressure on the knees, putting a little bit more pressure on the ankles and the intrinsic muscles of the feet. However, if we're strong enough, we allow ourselves to stabilize from our hips and making those angles down the bottom half of the chain so much stronger, A, preventing injuries, and B, allowing you to create more force moving forward while you are running. Ever push through pain thinking like it's no big deal? Well, habit number 3 is like ignoring the cracks in a tree's trunk. One small crack today can lead to a complete breakdown tomorrow. Pain isn't weakness, it's a warning. Pushing through pain should not be glorified. Very often in different running circles, it really is. The harder you push, the more you ignore your pain, the better runner you are, the harder you are. I'm here to tell you that it shouldn't be like this. Pain is a warning that something is wrong. If you ignore that pain can become chronic and turn into an injury. And as we age, we know that we recover from injuries so much slower. So rather use that pain as a warning sign, get that sorted before it becomes chronic. As we get older, there are often aches and nagging little pains. How do you know what is an injury or what is a pain and what is absolutely chronic? I have a few checkpoints that I tell my athletes to look at when they are thinking about these niggling pains. The first one is when you start running and that pain gets worse. The second one is when you start running and the pain doesn't dissipate. It's there, but it doesn't go away. The third one is when you finish your run and the pain gets worse over time. And the fourth one, which is a biggie, is if you have pain at night when you're trying to sleep. If you're feeling those things, those are warning signs to say, this isn't a good thing and I really need to go to see a physio, a physical therapist, or a sports physician. The other thing you can do at home by yourself is try and do some mobility, as sometimes that can help. And of course, we always want to be focusing on our strength training. If we were to leave a tree in the shade, naturally it would struggle to grow tall compared to the others who are getting adequate sunshine. The same goes for you and skipping recovery days. Recovery isn't wasted time, it's sunlight for your muscles. You'll be surprised how much better you run when you let yourself rest. And that is because we only get the benefit of all the training that we are doing when we are recovering. More and more isn't better. In actual fact, if you are just doing more and more and more on top of each other, you're digging yourself into a hole. When we exercise, the body breaks down, and when we recover, the body builds itself back up. If you can change your mindset to understand that recovery is as important, if not more important, than all your different training sessions, you will start to think of it as its own individual session. And so that is why you should never skip it. Picture a tree with stiff, brittle branches, unable to move with the wind. Now you can imagine what happens when the strong winds do blow. Now, do you think that mobility work is optional? If you have good mobility, you are able to increase your stride length, improve your cadence, and get stronger for while you're doing your strength work. There is a difference between flexibility and mobility. Flexibility is just being able to move the joint in a certain range of motion. Mobility is being able to move that joint within a range of motion with stability. So we want to be able to increase our stride length while staying stable for running. And while we are aging and perhaps going through peri and post menopause, there are changes within the ligaments. There is increased laxity, so more movement, and essentially more flexibility, less stability, which is why we want to focus on mobility specifically. So think about it. Just like a tree, your running journey depends on strong roots, a sturdy trunk, and flexible branches. Neglecting the foundation, strength, and flexibility that your body needs is like expecting that tree to thrive in the wrong conditions. I'll be hosting a free online training where I'll teach you how you can run better as you get older without training more or harder than you currently are, all while avoiding injury so that you can run well and faster long into your 50s, 60s, and beyond. Thanks for watching. Remember, the next step is yours to take.